Hey guys, it's Kat and I am back today for my favorites and fails of July. So this is a video where I sort of recap on the makeup and the beauty products I've been using in the last month, and I let you know which ones I enjoyed the most, which ones were fails, and just sort of recaps or updates on things that I've sort of reviewed throughout the month. If I felt like I need to give you any updates on, this is where I'm going to do it. So let's start with makeup. Probably my all-time favorite product of the month is a new highlighter, and you're probably thinking to yourself, Kat, I thought highlighters were dead. I thought we've got big enough collections. We're not buying any more highlighters. And you're sort of right, but I was using this palette, which I did mention in my sort of top palettes or my most used palettes of the last 6 months, which I'll link down below. I'll list all the products I talk about and any reviews or videos that I've talked about as well. But I mentioned this NARS palette. So this is the Atomic Blonde palette. It's got 4 eyeshadows, a bronzer, and a highlighter. And I was talking about I particularly like this because the highlighter is phenomenal. Now this highlighter isn't in their permanent range. It's called Last Call, and it's like the most perfect sort of champagne gold, but it's not too, it doesn't sit on the skin, it doesn't look too cakey on the skin. And there was part of me that's just like, I never want this to go away, and it really upsets me that it's limited edition. So I sort of went to a NARS stand. I was getting my phone fixed at Apple, and I was like, I'll have a look at the NARS stand in Mecca, and I came across this one, which is very, very similar. So, and when I looked up reviews, I'm like, do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? I know Hayley did mention that this was one of her favorite highlighters, and she's like, yes, you do need it. We don't need more highlighters in our lives, but this one you do need. And I also saw that a lot of reviews that when this was released, people were saying that this is their like favorite or most used one. I was like, oh, if I get a lot of use out of it, I can justify it. So this is Fort de France. So it's a permanent highlighter. It's a bigger pan. So this is 14 grams. The one in here is 7 grams. So it's double the size, and it's quite similar. So I have noticed that this one is probably a little bit lighter. I think that's probably the difference. So let's swatch the difference here. So I'll zoom in so you can see, but this is Fort de France and this is Last Call. So it's the same sort of finish where it's a soft sort of peachy gold nude. This one is a little bit more gold, I would say, but very, very, very slightly. So they're sort of similar, and I would call them dupes, but they're not quite identical. Regardless, I love them both. I'm wearing Fort de France now, so that's what it looks like. You can see that it just sort of looks like my skin, which my skin, I think, if you categorized it in like MAC colors, it's like NC20. So I'm always like beige in certain like ranges. Drugstore ranges, I'm like natural beige. But it works so perfectly. So you can't see any white cast or anything when it's not catching the light, and then it catches the light and it just looks like a wet look. So this is the most beautiful highlighter. Like I said, I'm using Fort de France today. I do still really like Last Call. It is probably more of like if I'm a little bit more bronzed, or if I'm going for a little bit more sun-kissed look, I think Last Call is fantastic. But Fort de France is a really great dupe, and they're like the most perfect highlighters that I've been looking for. So I do appreciate fun highlighters, and I do have a collection of like duochrome and green and pink and all this kind of stuff. But the ones that I use on a daily basis and that I think actually looks really, really flattering in person are the ones that you can see on the skin. So you can see a sheen, but it's like, is she just a little bit sweaty in the right places? And the answer is no. It's highlighter, and these ones are fantastic. So these are probably my favorite products of the month, and I think they've just really sort of made my skin look glowy when right now we're in the middle of winter and it's cold and it's dry, and it's like, because we live in a dry climate, so your skin gets quite dry and looks quite dull. But to have a little bit of something that just goes, makes you look a little bit more healthy, these are phenomenal. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is eyeshadows, and I did talk about eyeshadow palettes in my video where I sort of recapped the palettes I've used a lot in the last 6 months. So I won't talk about those palettes here because I've got a video talking about those. But this month, or in July, I've been using a lot of browns. Now, there's sort of 2 reasons to that. The first reason is that in May and June, I reviewed a lot of eyeshadow palettes, and it got to a point where I was literally checking in every single day. I was wearing makeup just to try eyeshadow palettes, and a lot of them were quite colorful. So I'm like, how do I mix this purple with this blue, with this silver? And I'm like, just gonna do it, just gonna try. And I sort of felt like I don't know, I lost the fun of colourful eyeshadows and I just wasn't inspired by them. So I'm sort of getting back into that, which is great, but I took a bit of a break in July. So there was that. And then sort of in combination with, I saw Sam from Pixie Woo post a video about how she does like a brown 90s eye. And I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. Like, browns can be so flattering and gorgeous, and I know browns really work well on my skin tone, so why force colors to work when I'm not feeling it? I may as well just lean into the brown and enjoy the browns. So that's what I've been doing, and the palettes that I talked about in that 6-month video, which I'll link down below, I did use a lot of those, but then I also used the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I pulled this out again. I haven't used this for ages. It is a really beautiful palette, and it's got some really fun colors, so I have been using this quite a lot. There's a beautiful mustard. I haven't been using the gold so much. I sort of use them, ironically, it's a gold palette, but I sort of use them as an inner corner highlight, but I've mainly been using these browns. They're very, very beautiful. Yeah, it's a palette that I've pulled out and I'm going to continue to have on my desk because it's just an easy go-to. They work really well. The next palette that I've used quite a lot in the last 2 weeks, because I did a review on it, it was the first review back, which is good, was the Lunar Beauty Greek Goddess palette. Now, this is not necessarily a favorite. I just wanted to talk about it because I'm wearing it on my eyes today and I really like the looks I have been creating with it. I did a review where I showed 7 looks using it and I liked every look in that video. So this is a really beautiful color story, sort of what I'm vibing with these days. So there's a bit of brown going on, a bit of warmer brown, bit of color, but like it's not too out of my brown comfort zone right now. I am wearing this mustard color like all over the lid and I'm just using these 2 colors mixed together to sort of deepen the outer corner. But I really like the color story of this. I did want to update this in case people couldn't be bothered watching my review. That was a very long review. I did quite like the formula, but also I found the shimmers sort of irritated my eyes a little bit. So if you've got sensitive eyes, I'd avoid this. But if a little bit of irritation as you're applying it doesn't bother you, this is a really nice palette and I did enjoy it. And yeah, I finished the review, but I'm wearing it today, so that says something. All right, the next thing I want to talk about was lipsticks, and I've got a couple of new things to talk about. So the first one is what I'm wearing. It's a Lunar Beauty liquid lipstick. I think this is probably my favorite thing I've tried from the range because even though I did like the eyeshadow palette, because I did have some mild irritation to it, I think this is still the standout product to me. It's a beautiful, really vibrant liquid lipstick. It's quite comfortable. It's not very, very dry. Problem with it is that because it isn't so budge proof and drying, it can smear a little bit after you've eaten. So I think it's best to sort of use a lip liner to really like, I don't know, keep it in its boundaries. But it's gorgeous. Whenever I wear it, I get like heaps of compliments and I thought I just want to be like, it's a kick-ass liquid lipstick. Another lipstick that I've been loving, and this is a red and a nude. I picked these up the other week. So these are from Lipstick Queen and they're newish. You can get them in Mecca in Australia, and these are the Rearview Mirror Lip Lacquers. So these are sort of like a shiny lipstick, and this red one is the shade Fast Car Coral. It's actually like a warm toned red, so it's got like an orange undertone to it. There is more cooler tone reds if you're interested in that, but this is gorgeous. So this is, you can see, so it's a tiny little bullet, so you can really get it precise, and it's very, very pigmented. It's very glossy, it's very pigmented, it's very beautiful. Be careful when you twist it up, you can't twist it back down, so don't twist it up too much. But that's that Fast Car Coral. And then I've got Joy Ride Java, which is sort of like a deeper nude. There was one nude that was lighter. I think I actually want to go back and get that. I thought it was too light, but I've used this and this is like definitely your mid-tone, sort of browny, cool-toned nude. It's gorgeous, but I want to go back and get the other one. So I really like this formula because it's glossy, it's very pigmented, it's very comfortable and precise. But I do want to say I prefer the nudes only because the red shade, it's like bam and vibrant and gorgeous when you first put it on, but then it can fade down to a like softer red because it's a glossy finish. It looks a lot better with the nudes than it does the red. So for me, I would probably reach for the red. If I put like a red lip stain on and then I topped it with this, I think it'd be a gorgeous combination because the red will last a little bit longer, but the glossy finish and the color is gorgeous, but I particularly love this one. So the texture of these and the finish sort of remind me of a hybrid between a like shiny lip gloss and a lipstick, but they're gorgeous. So there's something to look out for, and I want more nude ones. All right, couple of random odds and bits before I get on to skincare. I wanted to mention, and I think I've mentioned this before a couple of months ago in a favorites, but this is a Benefit roller liner eyeliner, and it is the brown one. So these are sort of like those foam tip liner things, and this is the brown one. Like I said, I've also got the black one. I particularly like this brown one, and what I've been noticing a lot lately is because I've been going for more of a brown smoky eye, whether it's a shimmery smoky eye, whether it's a cool tone brown or a warm tone brown or a neutral brown or a dark brown. I sort of don't always want to go the strong liner look, so I find that this is a really great one. It shows up, like a lot of brown liners are too light that they don't define the eye. This defines the eye and defines the lashes, like I'm wearing it today, but it's not so bold that it looks kind of too harsh. So I do like a black liner, but lately with my browns, I'm really liking this brown liner. And I did have someone in my last video mention that they have this and it applies really, really patchy. The key thing with these sort of felt tip liners is to make sure that there's not a lot of eyeshadow buildup on them, because if there's a lot of eyeshadow buildup, they apply patchy. They can't like break through the caked on powder. So just make sure that you can like wipe it, whether you wipe it on your hand to remove some eyeshadow or maybe even get a makeup wipe just to wipe it occasionally if it looks like there's any caked on product. It will flow a lot easier. And also I keep all these sort of pen type products face down in a cup, so the ink is always ready to go. You don't have to like wait for it. Like if it's sitting like this or sitting like that, the ink is like going down and keeps the tip quite dry. If you keep it that way, it's always ready to go. So I get a really beautiful brown wing liner using this product. I really enjoy it. So July was a month where we finally got the mini MAC Fix Plus sort of summer scented version. So summer for the Northern Hemisphere. They released watermelon, pineapple, peony, I think it was like white tea and cucumber. Very, very cute. They smell really nice. They're in store in Australia. I've smelt them all. They're really delicious. The one I really wanted was the watermelon one. I picked one up and a subscriber also sent one to me, which was really sweet. So now I have a couple, which is great because they're limited edition and they smell really, really good. So I'm going to try it. Hang on. Oh, so it sort of has that lemony, like I always think Fix Plus, the original, smells like lemonade, icy poles. This sort of has that sort of fresh scent, but there's a little bit of sweet watermelon, like lolly candy action going on. I really like it. It's really nice, but it's also, yeah, very expensive for what it is because the minis, the limited edition minis are like too expensive. I'm torn because I don't think it's like good value for money, but I also really enjoy it. So I don't know. Yeah, I like it. Before I talk about skincare, I want to give an update on some products that I reviewed. So I did a review of the Infallible 24-hour wear foundation. No, 24-hour fresh wear foundation, sorry. This is from L'Oreal, and I also used the Infallible Magic Loose Powder, which is like a blue-toned powder. There was also a blue-toned primer, like a primer liquid, that I reviewed. I do want to say that I still really like this foundation. I think it looks gorgeous on. It's just very yellow for me, and I think since that video, I have noticed that the longer you wear it, it does slightly oxidize throughout the day, so it looks even more yellow. So for me, I want to use this, but you can see for my skin tone, it's just not really working right now. So yeah, even though I like the formula, I might, when I've used up a few foundations, I might go and look at purchasing a more neutral shade, but I really like the finish of this. It didn't wear like perfectly on my oily skin, but with a touch up, like a powder throughout the day, it just looks so flawless on my skin. It's just the color is wrong. So I still do like this, but it's not a favorite. I have used this powder quite a few times. I said I was going to use it with other foundations and whatnot, and I really like it. So it's blue. Whoa, and I just spilt it on myself. That's not good. All right, we can see it there anyway. It's blue, but as you sort of blend it in, it sort of goes to translucent. It's a really nice setting powder because it's super, super finely milled. It's one of those weird powders that when you put it on in like a heavy concentration, does that make sense? Like if you put a lot on your brush and you go to put on your face, it feels wet. Sort of reminds me of that Becca one that was like the wet, I don't even know what it was called. It was like a powder, but it applies and it's supposed to feel wet. That's what this feels like. I didn't notice when I first applied it a couple of times because I applied a small amount and you brush it on. But then as you start using it, you're like, wait, why does it always feel cold and wet when I apply it? It's one of those weird powders. But I really like this because I really like the color. I know that sounds really strange, but the color works really well, especially if I've got something that's a little bit too yellow. It sort of neutralizes it. And even though it's supposed to be translucent, look, I think if you had, oh, I just smeared, good job, me. If you had really fair skin, like paper white skin, this might make you look a tad blue. But if you do have sort of neutral skin and you find that you use foundations that are quite yellow, which is a big problem for me, I reckon this is actually a really good powder. There's not much in it, which is annoying, so it's 6 grams, but I think it's a nice setting powder and I like the blue. Works for me. Won't work for everyone, but it works for me and I like it. Oh, and I didn't actually use the blue primer after that review because it's so full of alcohol that it doesn't make me want to use it. So like if a primer or a skincare item or something, one of their first ingredients is alcohol, it's not good for your skin. There are only a few types of alcohols that are actually okay for your skin or good for your skin, and that one didn't contain a good alcohol. And you know, it might be safe and it might be a product that is proven to be okay in skincare or in primers, but at the same time it really does dry out your skin and causes like aging issues and like issues with your skin and irritation. So I didn't use it. I didn't want to use it. All right, let's get on to skincare. So at the start of July, I did do a skincare video. I was talking about my skincare routine. I wanted to try the brand Glyco predominantly for like 2 to 3 months and see how well it works for my skin. I really like the effects of it. I really like the products. Shortly after, I was contacted by Darren, who is the creator of Glyco. He's a personal friend of mine. And he was saying, I'm concerned about the redness in your skin. Pull back a little bit on some of the active products you're using. So I gave the high concentration vitamin C cream to Simon, who loves it. That was sort of irritating my skin, so I passed that on. I had used up a couple of products in that routine throughout July, and I've sort of been trying to work in other products that aren't as irritating to my skin to see if I can sort of curb some of that redness and irritation that I had. So what I've actually added in, I picked this up from Chemist Warehouse. This is the Roche-Posay Roselli AR Intense Serum. It's a serum and I use it day and night. It is just sort of like a gel serum product. You can see it there. And it is supposed to help reduce redness. So it's very liquidy. It's very gel-like, which is nice and comfortable. I have been using this probably for about 3 weeks now. I'm not too sure if it's doing anything great, but it's a nice product. And they say that after 4 weeks, you should see a difference. So if I do see a huge difference using this and like a reduction in my redness, I will do an updated video where I show that sort of footage at the end of that video with no makeup and an updated one. But it is a nice serum. I like it. So that's what I've been using a lot. Since I'm no longer doing like almost exclusively Glyco, I have been working in some other products as well. And one that I really dig is this one from Dermalogica. This is the new Active Clearing Serum. So what I like about this product, besides the fact that it's got a very pretty bottle, is that it is anti-aging and also clearing. Now, I don't think there's enough brands or products out there for people that have aging skin or that want to prevent some aging issues while also clearing their skin. People often think breakouts are for teenagers and aging skin is for older people, but there are a lot of people like me that are in their 30s and I still get breakouts. So it's really nice to have a serum that sort of does both. This is nice and gentle as well. So I put it on in the morning. I put it on before I applied this one. I applied this one morning and night, and I apply this one in the morning because it's so liquidy. I apply it first, and it's just a really gentle, thin serum that has salicylic acid in it, so it helps clear out your pores and helps prevent breakouts, but it also has anti-aging properties. So I really like this. I think that's a really nice product. So I was sent this along with this product that's in the range. I've used this less, but I still think it's quite an effective product. So this is the Age Bright Spot Fader. So once again, it's sort of like help preventing spots. But what I really like about this was sort of towards the end of July, I was trying different foundations. I was like, oh, I've got about 3 foundations I want to do reviews on. So I like to try them and have an idea of what I think about them before I do a wear test, because sometimes the wear tests go pear-shaped or wears really well that day and then other days it wears like crap. So I like to use a foundation a few times before I sit down and do a review. So I was trying different foundations. I'm like, oh, which one do I want to do the review of first? But I think because I was using so many different foundations and I was changing them up each day, one of them caused me to break out on my chin. So I had like a big sort of painful eruption. And normally what I do is I will put Mario Badescu drying lotion on it, but because that's pink, that works really great at night, but you want something to work during the day. And I found that that's where I reached for this because it is sort of just like, you've got this flexible tip. Hang on, I'll turn the brightness down so you can see it properly. So there's this flexible tip, so it's sort of bendy and it's got a little hole in one side. You turn it around and it's set to off so you can't squeeze any out, and then you turn it around to on and you can squeeze a little bit out. So you can either squeeze a bit out and then put it on whatever spot, or you can put it directly on. And this is really good because it is like a clear product. You can't see it because it's clear. So I found that it was great to put on my breakout and help dry it out during the day underneath makeup because, my Mario Badescu one, you can't do that because it's like this little putty of pink goop that you put on your face. So I thought this was really good and it really did help clear up my spot that was erupting and causing a lot of issues. Usually those sort of spots last for like a week. I think with this, it only lasted a couple of days and I cleared it up pretty quickly. So I really did like that range. I was quite impressed. Now, July's been a pretty good month makeup wise. So the only fail I really can think of is my beloved Gemini palette sort of growing something, separating, mold, something going on. It wasn't nice. I sort of discovered it just before I filmed my top palettes of the last 6 months because Gemini was going to be one of them, but then I had to mention that as a runner-up because it had gone funny. Now, just an update to that. When I then afterwards looked at my other melt palettes, I noticed that my Smoke Sessions and my 27 palette had all puffed up and gone very weird, like something was reacting, something was going on. We did do a video on Beauty News on the makeup breakup, sort of just looking at it and talking about it. So I'll link that down below. Now, update to that as well, Melt did reach out and said they were going to send out replacements. I told them they didn't have to worry about it because I, felt bad creating videos on it. I was like, mentioned it in a video. We created a video on Beauty News, sort of like letting people know that this is an issue that can happen. So I'm sure we've caused enough headaches. You really don't have to send out replacements. Like, we made that video knowing that I wasn't going to seek customer service for a refund. So they sent out replacements anyway, haven't received them yet, but I wanted to update you on that. And if you do have issues with your palettes like I did, contact customer service and they'll send out a replacement, because I have seen since creating those videos that a lot of people have said that is exactly what happened to mine, or, that happened to mine, I didn't do anything about it, but I'm never buying from Melt again. Do reach out to their customer service because they will refund it, or replace it. So yeah, but that was a bit of a fail, opening up like one of my favorite palettes and being like, oh, you're growing something. You're disgusting. All right, guys, those were my beauty favorites and fails for July, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.